Coming up, some friends in Kentucky remember country music legend Toby Keith.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. People around the nation are mourning the loss of country music star Toby Keith, who died of cancer at the age of 62. Tonight, his friends and co-workers are sharing some of their stories. You may not know that Keith owned horses here in Kentucky, many of them at Spendthrift Farm in Lexington. And as people tell Grayson Passmore, he will leave a lasting impact in the horsing community.
I should have been a cowboy.
Country music legend Toby Keith was known around the world for his hits like Should Have Been a Cowboy, courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, and Red Solo Cup, among so many others. But here in Lexington, he was known for his talents in the horse racing and breeding industries.
Such a big-hearted guy. He had money, could help. He sent horses to a lot of trainers out in Oklahoma City that were kind of down on their luck. And so spread those horses around so those guys, you know, had horses in their barn and knew they were going to get paid. So, you know, a guy that cared about the industry and cared about people.
Keith also owned many horses at Spendthrift Farm, where Mark Toothaker runs the stallion division. He says for such a big celebrity, Keith was one of the most down-to-earth people you'd ever meet.
He'd have his Carhartts on and his, you know, sock cap on. You know, really, if you didn't know who it was, you just think he was another guy out there looking at horses. He was very approachable. Most of the girls in our office out at Spendthrift, you know, got a picture with him out at the sales, and you know, we were all talking about that this morning.
Toothaker says Keith was a family man first and foremost. He wore his heart on his sleeve and was known for sharing his opinions freely. For those that knew him well, they just say,
and hey, that's Toby. And so, you know, he was so good for the game, and just a great, great American.
In Lexington, Grayson Passmore, WKYT.
So many hits. Keith announced his cancer diagnosis in 2022. During treatments, he continued to perform, most recently playing in Las Vegas in December. He also performed on the People's Choice Country Awards last year as he sang 2018's Don't Let the Old Man In, a song inspired by actor Clint Eastwood. Now that is the #1 song on the iTunes country chart right now. In fact, 19 of the top 20 songs on that chart tonight are by Toby Keith.
We are tracking some more dry and cool weather as we go into tonight. Some of us already at or below freezing. Let's take a look at those temperatures. As you can see, we're down to 29 for Grundy, 31 for Clintwood, also Middlesboro, 30 for Manchester and Irvin. Most of us right now in the middle to upper 30s, but all of us wake up close to freezing by Wednesday morning. Up on the radar, we are dry, all thanks to high pressure. As we zoom out, high pressure close to Memphis, and that will continue to bring in some more dry weather this evening and more dry and sunny weather also on tap by Wednesday, and we stay dry for one more day on Thursday. Then those rain chances are set to return by late Thursday, also on Friday. But we're dry tonight, and those temperatures back in the upper 20s and lower 30s as you wake up and walk out the door on Wednesday. So be sure to grab the jacket as we are clear as well. But notice a really nice rebound on the way by Wednesday under plenty of blue sky and sunshine. Highs back in the upper 50s and lower 60s. You know, we stay mild in the short term, but we are tracking a little bit of a cool down by next week. Those details on the way in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. The U.S. House voted against impeaching the Secretary of Homeland Security today over his handling of the southern border. 4 Republicans joined Democrats in rejecting the impeachment charges against Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. So the vote to impeach fell just 1 vote short. It was a dramatic setback for House Republicans, but they could revisit the impeachment measure again. 1 man is dead after a crash in the Baxter community of Harlan County this afternoon. 81-year-old John J. Howard was pronounced dead at the scene. State police say Howard drove into a vacant wooded lot, hit a tree, and flipped over. The coroner's office said Howard may have had a medical emergency that caused the crash. The investigation is ongoing. As we first reported last night at 11, police arrested a man who once pleaded guilty in a DUI crash that killed 4 people in Breathitt County nearly 10 years ago. Sean Harlan was arrested during a traffic stop on Village Lane in Hazard. He is being held at the Kentucky River Regional Jail. Harlan told us from jail today that addiction led to his arrest. Harlan appeared in court earlier this morning. The Elkhorn City Council is working on finding answers to the city's financial woes. A special meeting last night brought a packed house of community members to hear about the ongoing issues and discuss the plans for progress, with council members accepting responsibility for the oversights. With more than $300,000 in estimated debt, the council is working to address the needs and immediate changes to get the city in better shape.
Even the community, and they, like I said, they voiced here tonight that they was willing to be, they asked, how can we help? You know, so I think that going forward with everybody in, that we'll be okay. You know, and just everybody's accountable. That's the main thing.
The city is awaiting an audit to see what money is there, hoping to create a working budget soon and planning to find outside grant funding or loans. House Bill 387 is one of the many bills that's been filed in the Kentucky legislature, and this morning it passed the Education Committee. Elementary school principal and state representative Timmy Truitt sponsored the bill, saying he saw a need for more substitute teachers and felt if more people could become certified to fill that role, it would make a huge difference.
Right now, we don't have people to cover the classes, so I'm having to pull people either on their plannings to cover a class, which is extra work. I'm having to put my classified aides in that position, which they're not getting paid for. So it only makes sense to open up and make it a little bit easier to become that substitute teacher, because there is such a need at this point in time.
Some of the other co-sponsors of the bill include Eastern Kentucky State Representatives Josh Bray, Chris Fugit, Jacob Justice, Derek Lewis, and Tom Smith. Kentucky healthcare workers are calling on lawmakers to clear the way for more staffing. They rallied at the state capitol today in support of House Bill 361. That bill would help physicians get licensed faster. Dana Campbell, president of the Kentucky Academy of Physician Assistants, says the current requirements make it harder to fill positions.
Presently, in order to be licensed in Kentucky, a PA requires 2 supervising physicians, and that limits some rural practices who only employ 1 physician, and so it makes it difficult for PAs to get a job. This year's advocacy effort is hoping to remove that requirement for alternate physician supervision.
The bill received its second reading in committee last week. The Kentucky Primary Care Association is sending 2 mobile clinics to Eastern Kentucky. Their goal is to serve communities that are not close to hospitals or do not have a doctor nearby. The organization purchased 12 mobile clinics with COVID funds. 2 of them arrived today in Frankfort. The 2 mobile clinics will head to the Whitesburg area in Letcher County and to the Berea and McKee areas. Kentucky's bourbon industry is booming. That announcement came today as lawmakers from both political parties joined the governor and others for an announcement of record-setting numbers. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more.
They say that it's a success story they never imagined.
And we're coming off some of the biggest, best years this industry has ever seen. When you look at 2022, it wasn't just a good year for bourbon and spirits. It was the best year for growth that this industry has ever seen.
According to a study, bourbon has created a $9 billion economic impact, more than 23,000 jobs, and distillers have produced a record 2.7 million barrels in 2022.
So we've been able to chart that growth now over the last 15 years, and it's a success story that honestly we never thought we'd be here.
The news wasn't so good when the study started in 2009. That's when an alcohol tax resulted in what people call the Frankfurt Bourbon Party. But since then, lawmakers say the course has been reversed and it's been all boom in the bourbon industry.
We've changed the dynamics and the trajectory based on reducing taxes, changing the regulatory system.
We want
On in 2009, the rotunda was filled with anger and division. 15 years later, both Republicans and Democrats gathered for the victory lap.
It's going to continue to grow and expand throughout the world. Remember, we got a lot of global markets that we have just barely introduced bourbon to.
House Bill 500, which unleashed an already booming bourbon trend on the world and lifted this industry to heights that people like Elijah Craig and Evan Williams could never possibly have imagined.
Industry is still growing with more than 15 new distilleries currently under construction. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Bourbon has also created new markets for farmers across Kentucky, with corn production in core distilling counties increasing 300% since 2009. Well, parts of Kentucky will experience a total solar eclipse this April. Kentucky tourism officials are preparing for extra visitors during the event. The April 8th solar eclipse could bring an estimated 150,000 visitors to several western Kentucky counties. But more than 1 million travelers could pass through Kentucky while following the path of totality in Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. You see the path there. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, the groundbreaking verdict against a Michigan mother whose teenage son killed 4 classmates in a school shooting.
Plus, we stay sunny and above average tomorrow, but changes are on the way later this week. Those details after this break.